What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you to the April 2025 edition of Let's Talk. And right off the bat, to start things off, I do want to apologize for what happened with last month's Let's Talk. I did not catch the glitch that took place with that one for a very long time. It was all edited and put together properly, but the problem was that I tried rendering it in an incompatible project, not knowing that it was incompatible until it went up. And so what happened was the audio and video were massively desynced. It was literally taking audio that was like 3 hours down the same editing timeline and moving it up, which caused the entire problem. I could go more detail, but it's not really a thing worth discussing. It's something that I've only really run into in the past year or so, and it's happened on a few of my videos, so I'm having to be really cognizant of it. But I had thought I had actually finally tackled the situation, because this also came up a few months ago, and I was like, okay, I'm never going to run into this again, and then it happened again, and I had no idea that it happened again, so that was up for like a whole week and a half, not knowing that it was in such a bad state. And then, of course, once it was finally found out, thank you to the person who commented on the video, I took it down and re-uploaded it, fixed it, and corrected everything. So yeah, sorry about that. There was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about in that Let's Talk, and honestly, between that Let's Talk and between my impressions of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, I'm not going to have a crazy amount to say today. This is going to be pretty short and sweet. I was going to actually include my Switch 2 Direct impressions in this video, but that ended up being so long that it turned into an hour plus on its own, and I feel like that would just be kind of silly to include into all of this, so I kind of made it its own video with just a bunch of backing footage and whatnot and talked about everything. Of course, it was a lukewarm take. I am not a hot take artist. I am not one of those people who instantly jumps on the bandwagon and wants to put out all my thoughts instantaneously. I'm not that kind of person. I did want to give it a couple of days to marinate before I immediately came to a decision on anything, but I feel like I got my thoughts across pretty well in that video. If you want to listen to that, you can, but obviously you don't need to, especially when I'm sure you have heard people's thoughts on the Switch 2 3 million times in just the past few days, so I'm not going to necessarily subject you to another one if you don't want to listen to it. Today, I'm just going to talk about stuff relating to the channel, as I normally do. So, a few things since the last update. I, in that time, have gotten around to finishing a bunch of series, at least from an editing standpoint. Animal Crossing New Horizons is actually nearly done. That's right. I have made so much progress, and I have caught up so far with that series that I am almost done with it. I don't really have a whole lot else to do. Unfortunately, there are still some big things I have left to record in that game, especially as I get towards the end, because I was stupid and decided to guarantee that I was going to have every single bug and fish and deep sea creature caught in that game before it was all said and done. And some of the really rare ones are going to be a gigantic headache for me, and I have resigned myself to that fate, but it's going to happen. I just have those things left to tackle, really, and I would say another dozen or so episodes left to record before it's all said and done. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot. I'm making pretty darn good headway on that series, and I'm pretty happy with the way that it has turned out. Fallout 4, the Institute Edition, is all done and recorded. I took that entire Let's Play and got it done in like 2 sittings, and while it still was a pretty lengthy LP from a recording standpoint, once it all was edited together, it's pretty darn short, 12 episodes long. I knew that was going to be the shortest faction playthrough of Fallout 4 going into it, because the Institute has just factually the least going on of any of the factions in that game, but it is a nice springboard to eventually get into the next playthrough that I'm hoping to start before year's end. That is going to be a much lengthier playthrough. Not a full comprehensive playthrough of Fallout 4, but it is definitely going to have a lot more going on, and it is certainly going to be nowhere near as short as 12 episodes long, but got that whole thing done, happy with the way it turned out for the most part, and I hope you guys enjoy that for what it is. It's Fallout 4. It's more of Fallout 4. It's getting a perspective that I don't think a lot of people get with this game, because I feel like the Institute is by far the least popular faction in the game, especially because of how unrewarding their ending is. And I think that's kind of intentional. That game very much telegraphs to you how lame that faction is going into it. So the entire playthrough was always going to be a necessary evil, and I understand that. But that's not to say that there isn't a lot of good stuff in there, because there is. It's still a really fun and exciting playthrough. It's just, it's the Institute. And if you know anything about the Institute for a game that is now 10 years old, you are probably well aware of what you're getting into going into that Let's Play. So that is going to be ending on June 14th. That will be the final episode, going up every single Saturday. And then we have Super Mario Galaxy, which I think I already said in the last Let's Talk that I am already long done with. I finished recording that thing back in like early February, so it's been ready and done with for a very long time. The last episode of that is going up on May 23rd, going up every single Friday. Those episodes are 25 to 30 minutes long a piece. I should say the Fallout episodes are more like 30 to 40 minutes long each. So while it is 12 episodes, those are some pretty meaty episodes for the most part. Then there's Pokemon Platinum, which I have actually just completed editing as of only a couple of days ago, minus the post-game. And I want to take some time to talk about that for a second. But the finale for Pokemon Platinum, at least the current finale, goes up on May 5th. So it is actually ending sooner than you might think. However, I've talked about this before. I do intend to jump into the Pokemon Platinum post-game at some point. But that whole post-game ordeal, as much as I wanted to make it as minimal as possible, it's still going to be several episodes. Let's just put it that way. And I really need to get a move on with Pokemon Black and White too. That Let's Play I really want to make the bulk of this year, if not the rest of the year, just because it's something I very much promised for this year. And, you know, only cramming it into the last 6 months, I feel like is kind of doing it a disservice. It's supposed to be the hallmark Let's Play of 2025. So I just want to get a move on. I want to jump right on into that as fast as I possibly can. I am currently in the middle of the editing process when it comes to the graphic design, the bios, all the backgrounds, and all that sort of stuff, to the same degree that I did with the original Black and White Let's Play. So you're going to be getting the Pokemon bios with all of their stats and whatnot. Many of the same graphics that I used in that playthrough, but obviously updated for the additions that were added to Pokemon Black and White 2. And that is going to be a complete playthrough, front to back, post-game included. And then, once that is done, we will jump into the Platinum post-game, which is probably going to be sometime next year. So as soon as Platinum is over, we're jumping on into it. However, with a slight gap in between, as in, I believe Platinum is going up on a Monday. The Platinum finale is, excuse me, it's going up on a Monday. Yes, it's going up on the first Monday of May. So instead of putting out Black and White 2 on that Thursday, I'm going to put the first episode up the following Monday. So there will be like one day off as a little break in between, just to give me a little bit more time, because I technically have not recorded anything yet. But once I get going on that Let's Play, it should all fall into place very, very quickly. I am noticing that it is a lot easier for me to record Let's Plays that are only 15 to 20 minute episodes each, as opposed to the ones that are 30 to 35 to 40 minutes long, like Animal Crossing, like Fallout 4, like Super Mario Galaxy. And even Galaxy was pretty easy, but even that game, for as simple as it is to Let's Play, it kind of took a bit of a toll getting through that. I'm noticing how much like damage making episodes this long is causing me. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe I really should keep this up anymore. Like, the reason I do it, the main and obvious reason I do it, is because these series only go up once a week. And if they only go up once a week, that means that I want to get as much done as I possibly can so that that Let's Play ends sometime within the next century. Destiny and Pokemon have the unique advantage of going up twice a week, so they make a lot more headway in a much shorter time, but obviously those episodes are shorter to compensate. All in all, it's supposed to streamline the whole thing so that they're all progressing at the same rate, but just recording those super long episodes is exhausting. I don't know why it's so exhausting, because it's not like I'm having longer recording sessions. I think it's just more of a mental thing where, like, I look at a 3-hour recording session of Platinum or Destiny, and I go, man, that's 12 episodes done. I did some good work today. That's awesome. But then I look at Animal Crossing, and especially a game like that where so much stuff gets edited out, and I look at it and I go, I got 4 episodes done, maybe 3. That's it. Holy crap, I'm exhausted. Like, I don't know what I can really say beyond that it's draining me when I see games that are that lengthy and that long, and episodes that are that long, and what it does to me. So I don't know, maybe down the road I might end up changing some things and changing my methods and how I do certain things and how I approach certain games, because I don't know if I can do that with so many series concurrently forever. I mean, there are definitely big ones I want to keep at that length. I mean, the Tuesday upload, okay, which is supposed to be the secondary Let's Play, aka Animal Crossing right now, I think I'll always keep that one at 30 to 45 minutes an episode just because it is the other hallmark for people who are interested in anything but Destiny. But my other series, my Friday and Saturday uploads, I think I might have to start changing my approach to those. In fact, I already have started to change my approach to those, at least with certain games. I think when I get around to like Galaxy 2, I'll probably make those episodes the same length as Galaxy 1, for instance. But then there are others that I am also working on that are not going to be the same way. And I don't know. We will see. I think Mario Party I'll also probably keep at the same rate. I like the 2 episodes per board cadence that I go at. I feel like that's pretty reasonable. I mean, 10 turns per episode. It makes a lot of sense. Of course, it also means that those episodes fluctuate in length greatly because sometimes 10 turns can be 25 minutes and other times it can be 45 minutes, depending on how much bullshit happens in that time frame. But it is still at least very expected and very consistent in that regard, that you're always going to be getting the exact same amount of content in a specific episode. So, I don't know. I'm going to be changing my approach a little bit here and there as I go, but that is something to keep in mind. But anyway, all that is to say that Pokemon Black and White 2 is absolutely the next thing that I am going to be working on. I mean, I'm already working on it, but I'm going to actually start recording that here very, very soon. I'm hoping to start that next week. In fact, the week I'm recording this Let's Talk, I have a very, very busy week. So this and that direct Nintendo Switch Direct impressions have really been the only thing I've worked on this week because of how busy I've been. And next week, I'm hoping to just jump right on into Black and White 2, get as much of it done as possible. I hope to have the whole thing done in like 2 weeks, or at least the whole thing recorded in like 2 weeks, because I just want to blitz through that game as quickly as I can while still, obviously trying to retain the quality I had for the first Let's Play. Because Black and White 2 is also going to kind of signal the end of a certain era of Pokemon Let's Plays as I've been doing them. I already said this before, but just to kind of reiterate, Black and White 2 is going to be the last Pokemon game that I cover to the extent that I have done with most of my Pokemon Let's Plays, specifically looking to things like Fire Red and Leaf Green and Emerald, and now obviously Black and White and Black and White 2. Those are the Pokemon games that I definitely spent the most time and I was the most exhaustive with my editing process on those games, as well as my commentary and how I studied everything. Those were the games I put the most time into, while Platinum was a much more casual playthrough. Pretty much from here on out, after Black and White 2, they're going to be more like Platinum. They're going to be much more simple, much more streamlined. Those are all Pokemon games I haven't played nearly as many times through, maybe 2 or 3 playthroughs at most, and I am just going to be going through those as quickly and as easily as I possibly can. Obviously, there are still going to be elements I retain, certain graphics and whatnot will be retained, but I'm not going to be doing the exhaustive breakdowns in those Let's Plays that I do currently with some of the heavier hitters. This is where we're going to just kind of get into more casual Pokemon, especially as I start or I return to covering a lot of the side games like Colosseum, XD Gale of Darkness, the other Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, and possibly even Pokemon Ranger at some point, and everything else in between. So I just wanted to clarify that here. After I get Black and White 2 done, there's a couple things I want to wrap up. In fact, I have given myself a list of games that I'm hoping to have all done and recorded before the month of June. And it's looking like that's going to be very, very possible, but obviously that all depends on how productive I can remain. I have actually been pretty darn productive as of late, so I'm hoping that stays true. But before the end of May, I want to have Animal Crossing, Black and White 2, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and Mario Party 5 all done, and Destiny: The Final Shape. And that is probably going to be the next big game that I end up tackling after Black and White 2. I'm currently at another waiting period with the game right now where I am trying to see what Bungie is doing next. We are supposed to be getting another major expansion announced sometime here in the next month or two, possibly for later in the year, although it might release sooner than that. We don't know. It's just codenamed Frontiers at the moment. And I'm gauging that before I jump on into my recording of The Final Shape, because I still don't know if I want to stop my Destiny Let's Play at the end of the Final Shape campaign, or I want to continue with the episodic content and everything beyond that. A big part of me wants to finish with Final Shape, call it there, and then not touch Destiny again unless we get Destiny 3 or Destiny 3 in all but name. That's where I'm at the moment, because right now Destiny is kind of just spinning its wheels, continuing for the sake of continuing. It doesn't really seem to have a plan at the moment, and I want to see what that plan is before I make a definitive decision with that Let's Play. As of right now, the final shape is probably not going to be as extensively covered as I'm doing with something like Witch Queen, which once that is all done, we're obviously jumping here into all the seasons. And I think over the course of this summer is when you guys are going to really see just how much shit is packed into those seasons that I haven't really covered in the Let's Play up to this point, because while Witch Queen itself was like, what, a couple months of videos, the seasons are looking to pretty much last me through almost October and November on their own before I even jump into the next expansion, which is Lightfall. That's how much stuff those seasons cover. And the episodes with Final Shape are no different, but I'm also like not super happy with the way that those have come out, to the point where it's like, is it even necessary for covering the story of Destiny, for covering them in this Let's Play? Will I feel bad if I even skip them? Honestly, no. And that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm just kind of at this waiting game. So I want to get all those games done, but I want to have the final shape done before May is done. I just am waiting. I'm waiting for the right possible moment to make that jump, to get in there and record that as much as I possibly can, and then possibly call it a Let's Play, at least temporarily. I don't know. We will see. Not that it matters to you guys too much, because even if I record this stuff in May, you won't even see those episodes until middle or end of next year because of how far out this Let's Play is. It just never freaking ends. But the reason I want to have all of these games done by the end of May is because summer, my plan is to kind of go dormant again, and not in the way that I did back in 2021 with my Ghost of Tsushima Let's Play, not in the way that I did just a couple of months ago where I didn't put any Let's Talks out for a couple of months. No. What I want to do is I want to kind of go on a recording marathon, if that makes sense. I want to just bulk record my way through as many games as I possibly can in the span of 3 months. And I just want to make that, for me personally, just kind of a summer of gaming, where I'm going to go through so many different games that I have intended and been wanting to cover for an incredibly long time on this channel. All of them are going to be games that I have never played before or have very limited experience with. These are not going to be games from my childhood. These are not going to be these big nostalgic heavy hitters for me. These are all going to be entirely new experiences. And technically, I've already begun with this, because right now I am 3/4 of the way through with recording my next Pikmin Let's Play. That's right, I'm working on Pikmin 2 right now. I did have every intention of continuing with that series after Pikmin 1. I wasn't going to just drop it there. And I'm enjoying Pikmin 2, actually, to a degree, although it is absolutely not the smoothest experience, let's just put it that way. But I'm having fun with it, and I want to continue this trend going forward. I want to get through a ton of games this summer. In fact, currently I have a list of like 12 that I want to get through between the beginning of June and the end of August. And I would like to be able to just get all of that done, so then once the summer kind of comes to an end, then I can worry about putting it all together and seeing where I place it all, and then figuring out next year and the year beyond that and everything else that I have planned for the future, because I might actually finally hit a point on this channel where I am so far ahead that I actually don't need to scramble to keep up with any of my current series. They'll just all be done, and I'll be several months out on videos, which is something I haven't had in years. I mean, I want to say since like 2017 that I've been in a state like that, and would very much like to get back to that with the current crop of videos that I have been putting out, while, obviously keeping daily uploads and whatnot. But with that in mind, and I mentioned this before with my video lengths, I'm already making the change with some of these games where they're going to only go up once a week, but the videos are only going to be 15 to 20 minutes long. So far, Pikmin 2 has been that length. I haven't been doing 30-minute videos, but that's because that game behaves very differently from Pikmin 1. It's not do an entire day and that's the episode. It's a completely different beast in its own right, so I can have a little bit more control over how long I make those episodes. But I have a lot of plans for the future, a lot of unique and interesting and wild games. There's a lot of indie games I really want to incorporate into things. In fact, I've been looking at my different upload dates, and I'm thinking Friday, once I get through some of these Super Mario games, I think that's going to probably end up being the day that I end up dedicating mostly to a lot of indie games. Saturday might end up becoming that as well once I'm through the entire Mario Party series, but that's going to be a while before I get that far. I don't even think we're going to be through Mario Party 6 before this year is over with, and then I still have 7, 8, and DS to get through, and I don't know about any other Mario Parties beyond that, but as of right now, I have no plans to try any of the others. So eventually we'll get around to those, but oh my gosh, there are so many little games that I want to get back to, because I do want to sort of bring my channel back in a way to what it was in the early days, where I took a lot of time to focus on some more experimental and artistic games, because I've always had a big soft spot for those. I mean, I think back to the early days of my channel where I was playing games like Child of Light and Limbo and Journey, and I definitely want a lot more of that here on the channel, especially as I now enter an era where all of my nostalgic the games I played as a kid, the well of those has kind of dried up, and there's not very many left to cover, at least for the time being. I don't know. Someday maybe I'll get around to redoing a few of my really old Let's Plays, as I've already done many times in the past. But right now, I'm just kind of looking at all this new stuff, and that's kind of where I want to keep it. I also want to bring back a few games that I looked at in my Variety series. A couple of big ones are like Pacific Drive and Returnal. I really want to get back to those and actually do a full playthrough of those here on the channel because of how interesting they were to me, even though I know Returnal is absolutely going to kick the shit out of me. So that's pretty exciting. And I also want to get into more difficult content, too. I want to start playing games that are really going to test my mettle a little bit more, even though I have never proclaimed myself to be a gamer, quote-unquote. Like, if you guys want me to start covering like Souls-likes and whatnot, it's not happening. I'm going to suck so hard at that it's not even going to be entertaining to watch. But there are other kinds of games I definitely do want to check out. Some crazy difficult shmups, possibly some more difficult shooters here and there. Things that are more in my wheelhouse I definitely want to get around to. But of course, you know, I also talked about in the last Let's Talk some of the games that are coming out this year. It is rumored that Ghost of Yotei is supposed to be a summer release, so that might also end up being incorporated into all of this. I don't know. Problem is I don't know how I can justify starting that Let's Play before Middle-earth: Shadow of War is over, so we will have to see on that one, but I might start recording it sooner than I was expecting to. And then, you know, I'm still looking ahead to things like Subnautica 2 and Pokemon Legends ZA and just a whole smorgasbord of things. There's a lot. Like I said, this whole plans stuff, all of my planning, it's very nebulous at the moment. None of it is set in stone, and I'm not out here making any promises, but I have a lot of ambition. At the very least, there's a lot of things I want to do, and right now things are going a little bit more smoothly. I just needed to get out of my rut, which is what I talked about last time. I always get into that around that time of year, and I feel like I'm mostly out of it now. I'm doing pretty well, but this is going to be for the next few months is going to be a time where I'm going to really hunker down and just get to work. Get to work, but also have fun. Have a lot of fun with a lot of games that I've always wanted to play, and hopefully that makes for a lot of exciting Let's Plays and a lot of interesting video content for you guys to enjoy, and hopefully you guys will also enjoy the games even slightly as much as I have while watching them. So with all that said, thank you guys also very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video very, very much, and I will see you all in the next one.